In this video, we're gonna start talking about how to create a injectable service in Angular. Service is very important concept, and we have already used service probably in a lot of places in Angular. But the real scenario, the service is created usually to be able to call a API or share some data with multiple places that is injectable. Now, service, if you read this whole thing, it will talk about what is service is and what is the principle like to use a service. But in short, the service is a way to inject a component or a TypeScript class into your component in a loosely coupled manner so that you're able to use the service in multiple places. For example, if you have a to-do applications, you want to be able to call your backend services, where in your backend service you return some data and you want to display the data in your UI. So that's where service is very useful. At the same time, probably you have a authentication service where you want to store your data on the first load of the service to somewhere as a store and use that value to multiple places and use a subscriber or something to be able to change the data so it replicate all the places like how we use any store component. So rather we talk about this thing, I'm gonna show you how the service works and how everything works in Angular. So if we look at the example here, we have a logger service which to log warn as well as showing the error. Now, another example is showing hero service where we can call our backend service which returns some data where we do backend.getAll and we stamp the constructor as hero which return the type hero which is interface. Um, and then whatever we return back, we log the data using the logger service that we just created, and we push the data into this array and we return the array. Now, how we create a service? We can use the Angular CLI. We can say ng generate service. We can just simplify it ng g and s, g for generate, s for service, and then the route of the service, it will be under hero slash hero service, something like this. Now you have noticed that we have get this injectable. It's a decorator, as well as it has a provide in root, platform, or any. So when you say root, it gonna automatically inject in your root level all platform, or platform is a special single terminal shall be shared by all application on the page. When you say root, application level injector must in most apps, and any means you can just put any, but this option is deprecated already in the current version, which is I'm using stable 16. If we have that already, now we can go back to our component. We should be any component we create, you can just use this logger service or hero service, whatever, however you want to do. Now let's see some example. We using some public REST API where we are gonna just display a data where, and then based on the data we're gonna get the all the list of data. Now in our Angular we have this welcome which run on Angular 16, Angular 17, and there's nothing but the welcome message. So what we gonna do is we're gonna create a service first, and then once we create the service, we would like to get the data from a API and display those data in the UI component. So first we want to create a service. Now we already have our root app default module and we want to create on top of it. So let's say ng generate service. Now we can say that app, and this will gonna give us the service as well as the test. Let's talk about the service, right? We have seen like provided in can be root, or in the project level we're gonna say root, and in the constructor we need to import the HTTP module. Now remember, when you import any module, you need to be able to import that HTTP module also, this one. Now if you're using Angular 14 or 15, you'll have a app.module, and since I'm using 17, I can use standalone mode in the app component where I can import all the module in single place instead of multiple place. But remember to import that. We can ignore all of these since we don't need. This was done previously, and now we need the HTTP module. So we're gonna say private HTTP client. You'll see that we are importing HTTP from the HTTP client. Now to get all the data, I will use a public API that is available to us. We should gonna return us something like this, a data of object, and this is a public API. I'm using the RESTful API. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all the object, right? So we're gonna create a method called get all objects, and we're gonna say return http dot get. We're gonna pass the URL whatever we have. We're gonna say this dot http. Now if you notice, this will return a observable, uh, and this observable, and we didn't define the type. What is the return? Now we can define our type definition. Looking at it, we have a ID, name, and data. So let's export that. We can either define a type here, or we can just create a common factory or whatever. What I'm going to do is just I'm going to say app dot interface dot ts. So this is easy to read, and I'm gonna say export interface. We're gonna say um, whatever, maybe object app object equal to. Now we need to say the ID string, and then we have name also string, then we have data, which is type of color and dependency. What we could do is we could define the type here directly, color string, as well as capacity string. This also works, or we could create another, but I will just create something like this so it's easier. Now here we can define the type, and return type we can either define here or we can define here also, but anything is fine. Since I usually define here observable type, something like this. This is also fine, or you can say this. So we have all of this, and now we how to call this. We have seen that we can inject this app service to our component directly. So we can say app service and app service. So app service will see that it's imported here from app.service. Now we need to be able to display this all the data, right? To be able to do that, we need the variable. Let's say we say object data as type of same thing what we have done here, app object. Now what we can do on init, we can say this dot object equal to app service dot get object. So this will return us the data. Okay, we can define this strong is not initialize. Okay, so initially we can say of as an array as a type. I believe this should solve the problem. Oh, my bad. Um, when I return, if you notice, I need to define as a array, right? Because I'm returning as a array, whereby at the same time in here, I probably don't need all of this, just office enough. And then this need to be array. So we are good, right? So once we have the data, because we are returning an array of data here, if you remember. Now I can just run a just to display ul and li and ng for let object of object. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say async pipe. Now what you're gonna see is I have all the list no HTTP client. Once we are done, let's import our app service in our provider. Once we import it, we're gonna go back to our app. We're gonna see this list is loaded but nothing is showing, right? Now for temporary, what we can do, we can just say JSON the stringify ob. That's one way we can do that. See all our data is showing. Let's increase the zoom. We have all the data. Now we can show the name. For now, we dot name, and we have the data showing. So this is how we can use Angular service to call a external API and to be able to set up everything. In the next video, we're gonna look into how to use service as well as injector to authenticate a backend service with Angular. See you on that video. Thanks.